We won't know how far anything's going to reach until the event happens. I mean, I understand that that's not an answer that you want to hear.
This is not just limited to Hazelwood and Bridgeton. You've got highly densely populated areas of St. Louis County and people aren't even aware that this is existing. We are doing a disservice to the residents of St. Louis County by not educating them this is going on.
I moved here in June with my 4 children, and we are packing up and leaving in a few weeks. And everybody in my community that I have told thinks that I am crazy to believe that there's nuclear waste next door. It needs to come from a public official. It can't come from a Facebook page. They don't believe it.
When I received a letter from the Orchard Farm School District, it was so vague, and who is feeding the school district the information? It said there's a hazardous waste situation. That's bogus. Hazardous waste can be, disposal of nail polish remover. This is so major and intense, and for me to feel careful to put the care of my 6-year-old, if there's a shelter-in process and they're telling me that this is a more mild situation than what it really is, I mean, what information are they getting? And I'm with this lady that if it wasn't for this group of moms that made this Facebook page, I would have not known. And now I'm getting a letter that has no security to me as far as what's going to happen with my kids.
My name is Tanya Mason. I live in Spanish Village subdivision, so I've been dealing with this for over 5 years. What I want everybody to understand here that you didn't see in all those slides, those pictures that they showed where it's 6 football fields that are on fire, none of that ground has been tested for radioactive waste. None of it.
Why
None
not?
of it.
Ask him.
Well, he's just taking his time. He's going to tell us why the EPA is not doing their job. This is the job of the EPA and the DNR. They've never tested any of that ground that's burning right now. As a resident of Spanish Village, we've been dealing with this. We've been sheltering in our homes for over 5 years. We can't open our windows. Our eyes burn when we walk outside. We vomit when we get out of our cars. This is what we've been dealing with. We know there's something in that dirt. If it's where they're telling us it's at, and then they're telling us now, the Attorney General saying it's outside of the perimeter of the property, why would it not be right there in the middle then? It didn't jump over what's on fire, but they won't test it. They haven't tested it. We don't know what's burning right now. We don't know what's going into those flares right now. We have no clue.
We have social media, we have radio, we have commercials. I mean, granted, the news people thankfully put it on the news, but how many people watch the news? How many people have been oblivious for so long? Why can't we spread the news? People need to know what's going on. The evacuation plan, wouldn't it make more sense to have something, educate the people on, well, if the wind is northeast, then this is going to happen. Or if it's heading to the west, then this is what's going to happen. We need to have some kind of information. How are we going to get kids home safe from school? How do you get that number of kids out of school buildings and home safely or out of harm's way?
It's best to stay inside. That is the best advice that any coming from the CDC.
Are you familiar with Bhopal, India? Are you?
Yes, I am.
1984. And on December 2nd, these people were not aware of what that chemical company was doing. And they stayed in shelter, and then tens of thousands of those people died. People still have to breathe. For you to say that shelter in place is the right thing to do without having any other precautions, without knowing the jet stream, how it's moving, without talking to any of these first responders on how they're going to do this, which neighborhood goes first, it is uncalled for and disrespectful to the people who live in this region for you not to have a better plan. I was talking to all of the leadership at the American Red Cross, and they knew nothing about Bridgeton. Now, why is that important? It is important because if we're talking about sheltering in place, we need to have areas that are specific to radioactive airborne waste.
Republic Services, if you live in St. Charles, if you live in Chesterfield or Ellisville, your representatives have signed on to a fake coalition that Republic pays. Your representatives have signed on to a coalition that does not want this radioactive waste removed and is fully funded and paid for by Republic. We will put that list up on our Facebook page so that you can look who your state reps are, look who your council members are, and see if they are on that list. Because that's the first place you need to start. Federal government is a responsible party on paper for what happens at Westlake Landfill. And Exelon will write the check for copper, is our understanding. Mallinckrodt, when they entered into a contract with the DOE took away all, Mallinckrodt signed away their ability to be charged in just about anything. They have immunity. It's all the federal government took over that responsibility, that anything that happened, and Byron DeLear, raise your hand, Byron, has the actual contract, if you guys want to see it, where the federal government swore to be solely responsible for the mess that ensued from the Manhattan Project.
I'm just concerned about this whole 3 to 6 months, which I know everybody is, and I know that it's only an estimate of the worst case scenario. My question is, aside from stopping it and getting rid of it, what's our best case scenario? Because my family is trying to figure out how to move now. We don't know, is moving right now a realistic option? Should we be concerned with moving?
The best case scenario is the fire is going to burn for 5 years per Republic Services. 5 more years.
So everybody leave today, call your both of your senators, McCaskill and Blunt, and call Congresswoman Wagner if you're in her district, or Clay if you're in his district, and ask for them to put the Corps of Engineers in charge, include it in the budget, and make sure that that happens this year.
It is a St. Louis, St. Charles regional problem, and if we want to get answers, we need to go to the elected officials that can be our voice and get the answers that we need to have. But it takes work.